On March 8th, 2020, in Spring Creek, Nevada, a 16-year-old Britney Ujlaky disappeared after hanging out with a friend. She left to meet a boy in a green truck. In a small town, nothing bad ever happens. Everyone knows everyone. There are no strangers, presumably, and no one locks their doors. This all changed when Britney vanished without a trace. The truth is not what it seems, and in towns like this, secrets never stay buried for long. Hello, welcome back to my channel where I deep dive into true crime, paranormal phenomena, cults, and history. Before further ado, let's get into today's case. This is a case I saw covered a couple times, but I wanted to cover it because I've not heard of it previously, and not many people were covering it. Today I'm discussing the horrendous murder of Britney Ujlaky. This is her story. Today's case takes place in Spring Creek, Nevada. Spring Creek is located in the northeastern region of Nevada, just outside of Elko. It is an authentic country town full of ranches and rodeos. Spring Creek has a population of 21,000 people, making it a tight-knit, quiet community nestled in the high desert of Elko County. It has open land that stretches for miles. It's the type of place where people move for peace and safety. This is one of those towns where nothing ever bad happens until it does and changes the town forever. In this small town, the Ujlaky family lived, including the main subject of this case, Britney. She was born as Gabrielle Lynn Ujlaky. I'm uncertain why she went by Britney other than she preferred it, but everyone called her Britney, so that is what I'm going to refer to her by. Britney was born to Jim and Alicia Ujlaky in Colorado Springs, Colorado on June 4, 2003. The following year, her mother gave birth to her younger brother, James. Britney and James had a strong bond given their small age gap and were like best friends. The family was actually extremely close. In 2010, when Britney was 7, the family moved to Spring Creek, Nevada. The move was made so Jim could work as a gold miner. Jim and Alicia did eventually separate, but even though Alicia moved out, she lived close, and the parents continued to parent the children as a unit. Britney was very close to both her parents, but was especially close to her father. Spring Creek is what made Britney into the cowgirl she ultimately became. She loved everything country, from ranching to attending the rodeo and riding ATVs. She specifically loved to ride horses, learning how to cattle drive and horseback at a young age of 9. She was a beautiful, free spirit. Despite her beauty, she was a quintessential cowgirl, not to be messed with. Her friend, Sequira Ashby, said, "The way that she carried herself was very much like, you don't want to mess with me. Like, she stood up straight and she squared her shoulders. She never slouched." She dreamt of being a rodeo queen. She was described as free-spirited, strong, independent, and a girl with high morals. She would ride off on her horse for hours, doing her own thing. At the same time, she worked at a local ranch. She was always the first to saddle up and round up livestock. She definitely would have made it into the rodeo circuit. She was a typical girl, experimenting with makeup and picking flowers. She lived by the model that no matter what type of day someone was having, flowers would cheer them up. She was silly and bubbly and loved to make people happy. Her plans after high school were between enlisting in the Navy and studying counseling to help people in the military with mental health issues and something like special effects makeup. She had different interests. Nothing wrong with that. It gives you so many options. Unfortunately, she switched to homeschooling due to extreme bullying. Her best friend said that all of a sudden people turned on her and started being awful to her. She suspected jealousy, and I honestly agree. They probably saw not only was she beautiful, but also talented, and they felt insecure. 2020 was a crappy time, and people took their pain out on people they saw that was better than them. She focused on her energy on the rodeo, and that's where she met a new friend of hers, Bryce Dickey. On Sunday, March 8th, 2020, Britney accompanied her father to his band's practice. He was in a heavy metal band. Jim would say that his daughter would critique the band's playing, tell them if they missed a note or sang it incorrectly. She sat there listening to his set, snapping friends, and invited a friend named Bryce to the practice. Britney and Bryce had a brother and sister relationship. She referred to him as Big Bro, and he called her Lil Sis. He was a couple years older and had been in a relationship with a girl for the last few years, so it was very much platonic. Jim and Alicia trusted him because he was polite and shy and home on time. His friends said that he was compassionate and helped anyone who needed it. They met when he was 13 and she was 11. At the time of this case, she was 16 and he was 18. They looked at him as a bonus kid. Before the practice was over, she told her father that they were going to hang out outside of practice and then Bryce would drop her off at home. She told her father that she would beat him home. She hopped in Bryce's blue Chevy truck around 3:30 p.m. and then Bryce drove off. This would be the last time that Jim saw his daughter. After practice, Jim went out to dinner with his bandmates, then headed home. He called Britney on his way, but she did not answer. This was very unusual for her, as she was pretty good about answering her phone. He got home around 7:30 p.m., expecting Britney to be there, but she was not. He attempted to call her again, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Now he was getting worried. He called Alicia, Britney's mom, to see if she had gone to see her and had forgotten to let him know, but he had not heard from her. After talking to Jim, she decided to call Britney, but her phone went straight to voicemail. This set off her mom's intuition. This was not like Britney. She would have contacted her father and said that she would be out later and who she was with. Jim and Alicia talked to the brother and asked if he's heard it from Britney. He did not, so he tells them that. He thought maybe she was blown off steam, possibly engaging in underage drinking after all. She is 16 and sometimes that happens. Alicia asked him to contact Bryce and see if he knows anything. He texted Bryce and asked him if he knew where Britney was. He said he dropped her off at the high school with a cowboy-looking white guy in an ugly green Ford F-150 truck. Bryce then rounded up his friends to conduct a search party. He felt guilty and said he should have just taken her home, but Britney told him that she was just going to call her dad to pick her up. This is when friends and family really began to panic. No one knew this mystery cowboy. A friend did say, according to Britney, that she was talking to a guy named JT. They did not know him or what he looked like or what vehicle he drove. They also knew Britney. She was responsible and would not just go off on a whim or fail to contact family or friends. This is when they called the sheriff to file a missing persons report. It was dismissed early on that she was not just rebelling, as it was not in her character. The deputy visited the family to speak with Britney's mom and her brother James. The family showed the police messages from Bryce via Snapchat and described the truck that this Mr. Guy was driving. The police then asked about Bryce, as he was the last confirmed person to see Britney. They told the police that Bryce is her best friend and that they had a brother and sister type relationship. The police asked Bryce to meet them at the school to go through the night of March 8th. Bryce said that they just drove without a plan. This was pretty normal for them, as they usually did not have a plan. They drove around a few hours in Spring Creek, then he received a call from his dad saying he needed to come home. He told Britney that he had to drop her off at home, and she asked him to drop her off at the high school. She claimed she was going to meet up with a new friend, but was unsure of his name. He told them that he wished he could give them a name, but when they arrived at the high school, they said goodbye, and she walked over to a green pickup truck. He drove away when he saw Britney talking to a white guy looking like a cowboy with a hat and all, driving in a green truck with stickers on the back. This is the last time that he saw Britney, walking over to the truck and talking to a guy. He did not actually see her get in the truck, nor did he see the license plate number. He ended up driving off, leaving her with her new friend. The fact that he left a girl he referred to as his little sister all alone with some random guy, without asking any questions about him or the situation, is pretty confusing to anyone, but still they proceed. He showed his conversations with Britney. The last ones he sent her was when he asked her where she was and if she was okay, with no response, and he also referred to her as Little Sis. He went on to describe how Britney was bullied and had very few friends. He claimed that she must have made quite a reputation for herself because many people did not like her, which is victim blaming, but anyways. He alluded to fights that she got into. The police released the description of this mystery individual to the public, hoping someone knew who he was, given the small town. Unfortunately, no one knew this mystery guy or his truck. None of her friends knew any specific guy like that, just one that she was talking to named JT. The following day, on May 9th, there was still no sign of her. No one had seen her, hasn't been on social media since 5:30 the previous night, and at this point, her family was really starting to panic. The police pinged Britney's phone and found it last pinged on Boyd Kennedy Road. This is 5 miles east of Bryce's last known sighting of her at the high school. They continue their search, however, it's difficult due to the large rural area. In the meantime, Britney's friends and family are doing everything they can on their part to find her. They are driving around looking for her. They also posted over 500 flyers in town and surrounding towns, as well as a page in her name for leads and such. Friends reach out to Bryce to hopefully get more information about her day and possibly find her. He was acting very distraught and that he felt guilty for leaving her. They of course told him not to feel guilty, that was not his fault. Unfortunately, he had no new information to share. On March 10th, less than 2 days after Britney disappeared, Alicia received a text from an unknown number saying that they had Britney and to send $25,000 or they would feed her to their dog, which is absolutely horrifying as a parent or as a civilized person. Then she received another text saying they are being nice and do not want to hurt her, but they are wanted. They are a wanted drug and human trafficker. They also said that they would tell their dogs to rape her, which is beyond disturbing. They also say to do what they say, but she is already on drugs, sick, and not doing well. If she does not act fast, Britney will die. Alicia calls the police immediately and says to quit messaging them and come to the station the next day because that could make it worse. She woke up to messages asking what was taking so long, and as a few bucks worth her daughter's life, she rushed to the police station and began tracing the location of the messages. While attempting to trace the message's location, detectives are notified that a search party was looking for Britney. They found a body. They were driving around and searching an area called Benson, 18 miles outside of Spring Creek, when they spotted a large amount of substance that resembled blood on the side of the road. They noticed a blue tarp lying a few feet away, covering what appeared to be a body. Detectives tell Alicia that a body was found, but not sure if it was Britney. Alicia just sat there in the interview room and completely broke down. She just had a sinking feeling that it was her daughter. Mother's intuition is strong and rarely wrong. Alicia becomes reasonably inconsolable, crying and practically passing out. The detectives catch her and lay her on the ground, then crouches to the ground holding her while she's breaking down. And as she's begging for someone to help her, it is just devastating to listen to and watch. At the scene, police find drag marks and blood leading to the body. Near the body, police find a keychain with the name Britney on it. It was clear it was Britney. She had an apparent knife wound on her neck. Her official cause of death was a stab wound to her carotid artery and strangulation. Her pants and underwear were down at her ankles, and a condom wrapper was found nearby, indicating that she was probably sexually assaulted. While searching around the area, they found a pair of earphones in a nearby bush. While inspecting the bush, they find a condom, thinking it could be the one belonging to the package near her body. They collect it for testing. They also found her cell phone a mile down the road, smashed. The community as a whole was just devastated. Remember, this is a small town, and everyone knows everyone. The loss of Britney was felt by everyone. Bryce Dickey, her friend, posted about her horrific murder, saying, quote, "Yesterday, we all received the news that made us hit the floor. Around 8 in the morning, we all started meeting up at my house to grieve and mourn Britney's life, which was taken far too soon that day. I had tears of pain and joy. I wish she could have seen how many of us came together to honor you, sis. We love you so much. Just know you won't ever be forgotten." At this point, the number texting Alicia came back as a spoof number, someone just messing with a desperate mother. There are some sick people out there who think this is funny. Unfortunately, the JT lead was a dead end. They found a JT that drove a green truck, and after her brother James called around asking about this guy. However, he did not know Britney, and it was proven that he was in Alaska at the time of her disappearance. They also look at other JTs just in case it was a common nickname. They found a few guys that went by JT. They cross-referenced them with green F-150 green trucks and found 2 ranch hands, but they were not in the area the time she disappeared either. It was common for those ranch hands to travel from town to town for work, usually spend a few weeks in town. They were already gone when she disappeared. Back at square one, they speak with her family. Alicia tells the police about a boy she had a crush on. He had a cowboy look. They dated briefly, but he broke up with her because she would not have sex, basically. Britney was good friends with his sister after this, and they were out driving. One evening, when they got into a car accident, the boy came to the scene saying he wished she had died in the accident and that she should just end her life, and that she was a waste of space, all because she would not put out. Wow, what a red flag. On another occasion, he told her that he can't wait until she's found raped and murdered in a desert, which is pretty eerie considering what happens to her. This was 3 months before she was raped and murdered. He was excluded when CCTV verified that he was at work when she would have been murdered. They put the DNA in the database, again to test against criminals, but received no hits. With yet another dead end, the police decided to check more CCTV to get the area Britney was found in, Burner Basin. On Boyd Kennedy Road, there is a gas station with a camera facing the road towards the high school. So they sit down and thoroughly watch the surveillance, frame by frame. They did not see a green truck. They saw a blue Silverado. You know who drives said truck? Bryce Dickey. He drove past the school but kept going without turning into the high school. This is also destroying Bryce's story of the night, because this was 30 minutes after he picked up Britney from band practice, not hours like he claimed. After learning that Bryce lied, they pinged his cell phone to compare his location of that night with Britney's. His GPS tracked him from band practice to the place where she was found murdered. His location was tracked, notably via his Snapchat app, because he opened it at the exact spot in the desert where she was found. They also took a selfie right before she was murdered, which is the last picture she uploaded to Snapchat. Detectives asked Bryce to come down to the station without telling him that they found out not only that he lied, but also his location matched up with Britney's. Instead, they asked for a DNA sample to eliminate him, and this idiot agrees. But this is not an episode of CSI, so they let him go home while they wait for the results. To the surprise of no one, his DNA not only matches the DNA under her fingernails, but also the condom found near her, which also had Britney's DNA on the outside of said condom. This is when they asked Bryce to come back for another interview, and he agrees. They asked him if he was ever intimate with Britney, and he denied that he ever had sex. He claimed that he saw her as a little sister, nothing more. The detective wants to shut down any reasonable doubt with claims of consensual sex. So there should not be any of your DNA associated with the murder. Bryce still says his DNA should not be there. The detective drops the bombshell that they found a condom and it matches his condom. And Bryce replies saying, "There is no way." So the detective goes harder on Bryce, saying, "You're right, Bryce, there's no way your DNA would be found inside of this condom, and Britney's would be found on the outside of the condom unless it was used and touched by both of you," he said. He said that Britney was flirting with him, that they kissed, and she performed oral sex on him. So she refused to have sex with a boy she dated for a while, but went down on a friend that she referred to as her brother. Make it make sense. The detective then asked for more details about how she ended up murdered. He tried to say that they messed around and she asked to be dropped off to see another boy. The detective told him that he expects him to believe that they had a consensual sexual interaction at the place her body was left, took her to the high school, she left with a boy, then he murdered her and left her at the exact same place that they had sex at and left the condom. Also, his DNA was on her neck, which is where she had a fatal stab wound. He doubles down and says, "Yeah, I didn't kill her, so yes, I do expect you to believe that." He went from not knowing the boy's real name to giving his full name. The detective was like, "So you know who's killed her this whole time," and never spoke up. This story was obviously bullshit, so I'm not even going to say his name. His story changes again, and he says Britney got back in the trunk after the oral sex. They argued due to worry about ruining the friendship, and then she jumped out of his truck at a stop. After he said something that she did not like, she stormed off. Then something must have happened to her. Eye roll. Then he asked Bryce if he was the detective on... he asked Bryce if he was the detective on Britney's case. And if he was the detective on Britney's case, what would he think? And he said that he would think that he was lying. So that's very telling. He tried today because he thought he was smart enough to know what they are thinking. He did not ask what they were thinking, but what he would personally think in their shoes. Bryce Dickey was arrested on March 19th, 2020 for the first-degree murder and sexual assault with a deadly weapon enhancements. They executed a search warrant for his home and vehicle. In his closet, they found a pair of boots belonging to him that had blood on them. In the boot, they found a knife thought to be the murder weapon. In his toolbox, they found a blood-soaked sweater, which makes sense if he stabbed her carotid artery. His trial took place on May 9th, 2022. 2 years after Britney's murder. It was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. An ex-girlfriend of his took the stand, saying that he was very aggressive and choked her 4 times. One of the last happening on the night of Britney's vigil. She told him that every time she did not want that, and he would not listen. Mind you, he was dating someone while being fixated on Britney. The prosecution argued that Bryce assaulted Britney and murdered her to stop her from reporting the assault. After 9 days of trial, the jury deliberated for less than an hour and convicted Bryce. Bryce Dickey was sentenced to life with the opportunity of parole after 20 years for the murder and 20 years for each deadly weapon charge, and life with a possibility of parole after 10 years for the sexual assault charge. This means after serving 70 years, he has the opportunity for parole. He'll most likely never be released. He is currently serving his sentence at the Lovelock Correctional Center. Though the trial is over and justice has been served, the family's pain is not over. Bryce has never admitted guilt, apologized, or given any explanation for the murder of Britney. He tore the family's life upside down. Alicia confronted Bryce at the trial saying, quote, "I believed your ridiculous lies and your story about the green truck, and you let me come and comfort you knowing you had raped and murdered my daughter. I hope the guilt eats you up inside and drives you to the complete chaos that my mind lives in," unquote. As for the motive, even though he has never shared this, it is believed he wanted to be with her despite having a girlfriend, and it hurt him that she did not feel the same. A friend of Britney said he confessed his feelings for Britney, but she told him she was flattered but did not see him that way and chose to be friends. Either way, as I said, it does not take away from their pain. Her father, James, said, quote, "There is no justice. She's not coming back," unquote. Britney's case is just horrific and sad. I agree with the police's theory on motive. I think he tried to put the moves on her and she turned him down. He got butthurt, raped, and murdered her. Guys like him do not take it well when their egos are bruised. I like to learn from these awful cases, so you should be able to tell a friend that a friendship is all you want without having to worry about being assaulted or murdered. He also did a good job of acting like this good guy, so I don't think there was anything she could have done differently or any red flags, since his ex seems to be the only other person who saw a dark side. But I want to thank you for listening to Britney's story. What do you think Bryce's motive was? I want to know your opinion, but please be respectful. Do not be a dick or you will be removed and blocked. Comment, subscribe, and like. If you have any future cases you'd like me to cover, please request a case using my form in the description box. What do you think Bryce's motive was? I want to know your opinion, but please be respectful. Do not be a dick or you'll be removed and blocked. Comment, subscribe, and like. If you have any future cases you'd like me to cover, please request a case using my form in the description box. Join me next time when I discuss a serial killer out of Chicago, Illinois. Until next time, stay curious, cautious, and safe. Okay, bye.